Welcome back to Hunting Grounds. This week we're going to be talking about a couple of different scenarios when putting up a deer stand for this fall. And first off, we're going to be putting up my dad's deer stand on a big walnut tree behind us, so stay tuned in. Now the second reason we chose this stand site is because when you're hunting the hot early season, shadows can play a crucial role in harvesting a white-tailed deer. Now as the day comes in and the shadows start getting out into the fields, and what that's going to do is those deer are going to come out into the shadow parts of the fields. Why? Because it's not so hot. And we're kind of using that to our advantage here. Now it's always good to have a partner with you when you're doing this. One, because of safety. Two, because once you get the deer stand on, you can have someone climb up to the deer stand and point out the branches that need to be eliminated, have another person eliminate them. And the other reason, well, maybe you can get them to do the work. Now you see me as we're setting up these deer stands, you'll see me having some kind of safety system on that holds me to the tree. That's something that you really need to do during the process of setting up a deer stand, because it can be one of the most dangerous times you can be in your deer stand. Now we're on a completely different piece of land, and with that comes a completely different kind of scenario in which to hang your deer stand in. Now the property we're on, the property I hunt, it's a good chunk of property. It's about 300 acres, and it's ratioed about 50-50 between woods and fields. But the problem is, you can see behind me, it's severely overbrowsed. The cattle have gotten in here, and they've knocked out everything that they can reach in this area. So hanging a tree stand is kind of a problem. Now, like I said, this is a completely different type of scenario than we have on the property that adjoins to ours. Because there's no cattle. It grows thick, you can see the deer trails, and it's easy to set up on the deer. But here, it's so overbrowsed that deer don't have certain trails they travel on. They're going to come through these woods, and they're going to split up and travel every which way. So finding a point in which to ambush a deer comes a little bit harder. Now, because this property is so overbrowsed, we're going to have to use a couple of different strategies. And one of my favorite strategies to use is what I call setting up near a pinch point. Now, a pinch point is some natural pinch point that's been made where haulers come together, or where haulers come together and there's a nearby fence line, or just anything that pinches a deer down to a certain point. Now, what you are doing when you're hunting a pinch point is you're increasing your odds of a big buck or a big doe walking by there, because you're funneling them down, increasing your odds that you're going to get that big buck or big doe. Now let me tell you real quickly about where I'm going to be placing my deer stand on this 300 acres for this year's deer season. Now the area behind me may look pretty familiar, and it should, because this is where we've got hundreds of deer photos this year. But call me crazy, but I'm not going to hunt this area. I'm actually going to be hunting an area about 200 yards from here and using the pinch point method. And let me show you what I'm going to be doing using the map. You can currently see where my deer stand is, and there's a hauler that comes down there and comes to a point, and there's a hauler running the opposite way, and it really creates a great funnel. Any deer coming from one side of that hill to the other side of the hill has to cross through that area if they want the easiest route. Well, I'm going to be moving it about 50 to 100 yards away from there, and what I'm doing is I'm really keying in on the factor that deer are really needing water this year because it's been really dry. And as always, I'm hitting on the food source in early season. But what's happening here is there's a property bordering us that kind of keeps the deer away, and so the deer are going to be pressured from that property, as you can see, and there's a holler that comes up and almost junctions that. And so it really funnels the deer down to a specific point, and the deer continue to funnel down as they are heading to that water source west of us, and there's actually a food source over there as well. And so any deer that's going to that food source or that water source is going to be using that highway. And there's also another spring on the property here, and it's a really small spring, and a lot of wildlife use it, but not a whole lot of deer, just because it's not enough water for a lot of deer to use. But deer that want to use that will also be using this, because you can see it leads again right to that water source. And so what we have done is we've found this perfect funnel area that most of the deer that cross through here are going to use at some point. And so if you do that, you're increasing your odds of getting that big monster buck that you've been chasing all year, and just putting the odds in your favor is an easy way to assure that you'll be successful in the end. Well guys, as we're coming in here to do the last video shoot, get the deer stand moved, I actually bumped a deer exactly from the area in which I'm going to be hanging my deer stand. And I'm really excited because it's a buck that I've not seen at all this year, and I've not got any trail cam photos of him. He's a big 8 or nice 10, and hopefully we'll be able to set up on him this year or get some trail cam photos here pretty soon. But that just goes to show you I'm already seeing deer where I think they're going to be pinched down to. Now remember, these pinch points might change as acorns fall, as you get rainfall, so be ready to be changing your stand sites if you need to. But guys, I hope you learned something about pinch points and how you can improve your chances of getting that once-in-a-lifetime buck. Well, that's it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Tune in next week, and as always, have a better than average day.